This is my favorite chapter. It's chapter 2 in your general psychology textbook, and it's about the brain. And I will try not to drown you with videos, so I'll move through pretty quickly and you can follow along. Why do we study the brain when we study psychology? I think this sums it up. Everything psychological is at the same time biological. Your reality, your personality, your thoughts, your emotions are all created physiologically, biologically, inside of your brain. And when we look at what the brain does, it has 3 primary tasks. It has to be able to receive incoming information. Your brain would be completely disconnected from reality if not for our sense organs, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our skin, our taste, our sense of balance. So the brain has to have areas in which it's able to receive the visual information from your eyes, the auditory information from your ears, and so on. So it comes pre-designed with receiving areas. Within those receiving areas and all over the brain, it has to be able to process what it's receiving. It has to be able to understand, remember, and solve problems that are presented to it. Sometimes in solving those problems, it evokes powerful emotions to get you motivated for action. And then when you are motivated for action, the brain itself controls your behavior. It sends messages to your legs to move your legs, sends messages to your arms to move your arms. And so on. So it receives information, it deals with that information, expounding on it, and then it comes up with a response and causes that response to happen within your body. When we look at a biological organ, we understand that it can be broken down into its smallest component part, which is a single cell. The cell in the brain that drives thought is called the neuron. Those individual cells cluster together with like cells and create tissues. So a bundle of neurons is called a nerve. The nerve that runs from your eyeball to the back of your brain is a bundle of neurons, 1 million strong. And we have ganglia and nuclei. Those are both clusters of neurons that perform tasks depending upon where they are. And then various types of tissues made up of different cells join together to create organs. So the organs of your nervous system are your brain, your spinal cord, and your brainstem. And all 3 of those make up the system of your nervous system. So we have the cardiovascular system made up of your heart and lungs, your digestive system, your esophagus, your stomach, and your intestines, and so on. This is an interesting picture. It's part of an art exhibit called the Human Body Exhibit. And in this, a scientist and artist who designed a special technology to dissect human beings and animals, and then permanently preserve the tissue in a fancy form of plexiglass, dissected humans and animals to various degrees, sometimes all the way down to their bones, sometimes their muscles, and put them on display. And this is the display of the nervous system. So up here you have your brain, you have the spinal cord, which sends messages down from the brain and carries messages up to the brain, and then all of these nerves that extend from the spinal cord make up your peripheral nervous system. Everything outside of the brain and spinal cord is peripheral. Some of them here are cut. These would be the nerves to your abdomen and chest. But you can see the nerves that innervate your arms and cause movement and receive sensation are here. And then your lower trunk nerves that innervate your toes and your legs, emanating from lower portions of your spinal cord. We have a tree here with various branches. The top branch is the nervous system, and we're going to break that down into its 2 components, the central and the peripheral. The central nervous system, think central or most important, made up of the brain and spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system, the outside nervous system, is further broken down into the somatic and the autonomic. Soma means body, so the peripheral nervous system is made up in part of the nerves that control your body and receive messages from your body. Your sense of taste is a somatic peripheral nervous system function. Your moving your pinky is a somatic peripheral nervous system function. It has to do with the body. And then we'll look at the autonomic in a moment. Let's look further at the somatic nervous system. Your somatic nervous system primarily is made up of 31 pairs of spinal nerves. That's a total of 62. They're paired because one half of the pair goes to your right side, one half of the pair goes to your left side. And those pairs of spinal nerves emanate from or terminate at the spinal cord. The brain sends a signal down the spinal cord. The spinal cord carries that signal down to the area where it needs to leave the spinal cord and affect change within the body, and that's where you would have the emanation from. And then you have other peripheral nerves that carry information from your skin, from your muscles, up to the spinal cord, tag off at the emanation point, and that the spinal cord picks up that message and carries it into the brain. You also have 12 pairs of cranial nerves. The difference between a spinal and a cranial nerve is that a cranial nerve doesn't enter into the spinal cord. It's attached directly to within the brain itself or at the brain stem. And I think of it simply as your spinal cord looks like this, just it would be hundreds of thousands of different lanes. So we have a multi-lane highway. Some information in the cars is going up towards the city or the brain. Other messages are leaving the brain, the city, and coming this way down the spinal cord. The emanation points, the spinal nerves at the spine look like this. It would be the spaghetti freeway that allows many on-ramps and many off-ramps from the spinal cord itself. And then your cranial nerves, they're here. You can see them. And on the video, I want to encourage you to watch the video of the brain. It's the first video available to you within the Chapter 2 link. Really excellent video of a brain that's just been removed from a cadaver. You're able to see its texture and its structure, and the doctor also points out some of the white nerves. Some of those nerves carry information from your sense organs and your skin into. Those are called afferent, carrying information toward. Some of those nerves carry information away from the brain, so they exit the brain, efferent, exit. And some work both ways. They carry information to and from. I could point out this nerve right here and this nerve right here. Those are the facial nerves. They control the function of your face. They provide you with facial expression. So when you experience an emotion, that emotion is communicated to the part of your brain that's going to squinch up your face in a frown or turn up your lips in a smile. Likewise, if somebody slaps you on the face or kisses you on the cheek, those are the same nerves that carry that information, that sensory information, tactile information, into your brain. If we look at the spinal cord, a simplistic version or a view of it, you have your cervical nerves, your thoracic spinal nerves, your lumbar, and your sacral area. Just you can think of those geographical locations on the spinal cord. It's color-coded, so you can see that your cervical nerves carry information to and away from the portions here in yellow. Your thoracic nerves control your trunk and your abdomen and the outside of your arms, here in purple. The lumbar nerves carry information to your legs and from your legs into your spinal cord, so you can have sensations. And your sacral nerves, way down at the base of your spine, carry information to the outside of your feet and to your genitalia. So imagine for a second, what if there was a car accident and the spinal cord was severed here between your cervical and your thoracic area. Think what that would involve. Severing of the spinal cord means a cutting of those nerves, and therefore, although information would leave the brain, go down through the cervical area, it wouldn't be able to hop that cut, that wound, down to the thoracic area, which would mean that the brain, although it was sending signals to the legs or the trunk, wouldn't be able to get that information all the way down because the spinal cord can't carry it. So you'd have paralysis at every area below the cervical area, and you'd also have a loss of sensation because information that goes into the spinal cord below that cut might be able to travel up the spinal cord, but it can't hop over that gap, so it would never make it to the brain. The brain therefore would never register that information. Most of the time, the spinal cord is a highly organized information highway. Every once in a while, the spinal cord itself gets to be the star of the show, and that's in what we know as a reflex action. If you look at this cross-section here, the gray area is made up of what are called interneurons. Those are neuron brain tissue cells that carry information down from the brain. When the information gets to the area where it needs to exit the spinal cord, an interneuron tags off with a motor neuron, motor meaning movement, which carries information directly to the muscle cells that need to move. So you step on a tack, and that pain signal travels up a relatively slow-moving cell or nerve via sensory neurons. Sensory neurons carry sensory information towards the spinal cord. Once that sensory information gets into the spinal cord, it tags off, it transmits its signal to an interneuron, and that signal is carried on into the brain. In a reflex, when you step on that tack, instantaneously, without even thinking about it, you're going to draw your toe up away from that piercing pain. If you touch a hot pan on the stove, probably you've maybe amazed yourself with how quickly you yank your hand away before you even recognized that there was a burn. That's because a reflex action involves an instantaneous transfer of information from a sensory neuron directly into the spinal cord, and because it's following the danger path, the motor neuron doesn't wait for a signal from the brain to jerk your hand away. It just automatically, in a reflex action, the interneuron tags off with the motor neuron and causes you to withdraw from the source of pain. Best known reflex would be when the doctor hits you right beneath your patella with a rubber mallet and your knee jerks. You didn't make that happen with thought. It happened because the signal didn't go up to your brain before it completed the reflex arc and caused you to jerk your knee to relieve the stretch. And we will pick up next with the peripheral nervous system, the autonomic branch, which is a very interesting, important branch.